Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Once again, we are talking all matters BresBet Easter Cup. I'm joined as always by the exiled dub, Tommy Lyons. I'm sure he won't do as much talking this week as he did last week. We're also joined by a man who I can promise you has trained more winners than myself and Tommy combined. He also knows a little bit about the bookmaking game. Carl Perry, former trainer and now one of the main men at BresBet. Carl, firstly, pleasure to have you. A man that's trained a winner at Shelbourne Park, no less, in the past. Derby final night at Gilo Vegas, I remember it well. Do you miss training the dogs? The grow is still there, obviously, for the Greyhounds, but you're now very much in the gamekeeper end of things. You're now a poacher, should I say? You're now a bookmaker.
Yeah, very much so. I miss the dogs daily. It's something that you can walk away from, but never. You can't take it away from what you've been doing. Trying to keep involved still. We have plenty of dogs in training still, but obviously just as the owner's side. And yeah, we'll miss. You get to finals and open race on certain days, and you turn up and it's right. I think these are the days that you work for all the time. Get to a dog to a final and things like that. But I miss it, but enjoying every minute that we're having at BresBet. We started something that we weren't sure how far we're going, where it's going to go, but so far so good. It's going exactly as we wanted, and it's growing probably quicker than we thought.
Yeah, I was just speaking to you there before we started recording. 7,000 customers, you reckon, since you set up on September 1st? That's a fair achievement. This time next year, it could be 20,000.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing, again, every day to try and get them new customers coming through, and spreading the word and seeing that the growth, and that's what we've seen over the last few weeks with the start of the Easter Cup. It's been a great boost to bring in a few Irish customers, and obviously English customers as well. But yeah, the coverage has been great from Shelbourne and everything we've done with them so far.
Of course, you cover all sports, but Greyhound racing is very much in your heart, a sport that yourself and, of course, the founding members of BresBet, all Greyhound people. I suppose looking at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, it's hard not to miss the game, get down the grassroots because it was racing of the highest quality.
Yeah, that's for the day that the entries come out, and the quality of this competition was just phenomenal. As a sponsor, that's the first thing you look for. You want it to be supported. We used to do exactly the same when we used to sponsor under BresMed for the Northern Sprint. We always wanted to attract the best, so we put the best money we could. You better show the finalists, and it was the same with the Easter Cup. The quality has just been unreal, and definitely second to just the Derby. It's only second behind the quality of the Derby, and to have Susie coming back in this competition was just a massive bonus.
Yeah, it sure was a massive bonus. I'm going to go to the exile dub because I can see him chomping at the bit there. Tommy, I'm going to read out a series of numbers to you. 1712, 1712, 1704, 1704, 1696 and 1688. That 1688 came in the Derby final, one of the most sensational runs we've ever seen. The 1696 was one of the fastest runs in the Derby in the semi-finals. Susie Sapphire came back on Saturday night, did a 1696, 29:45. I didn't think she was going to be that quite forward. Is there a chance that this lady, with another week or two behind her, is going to be better than she was last year?
Well, she's going to be right there with it anyway. I think it's fairly obvious she retains her ability. I'm sure Owen wasn't one bit concerned that she got beaten a couple of times. It's never about that. You can't keep a Greyhound unbeaten through all his career or any of that sort of stuff. And it's not a target. I mean, just because she's a Derby Oaks and Cup Oaks winner doesn't mean she has to be perfect every time. You got to bide your time with them and peak them at the right time, because there's a long year ahead for her again, please God. And this is a pretty good start, isn't it? Do you know what really amazed me? And that section, apart from anything else, that section amazes me too, because down the back she didn't look at her most impressive the other night, and maybe that tells us something about the dogs that were chasing her more than herself. But look at the quality of dogs. If I named out the 12 dogs that got knocked out on Saturday night, look, just very quickly, you have the likes of Ballymacmerlin, Ballymac Bobsleigh Dream, Story Pee-wee, Crocus Spirit, Coolavani Duke, Coombe Leo, Jack's Little King, Swords Maestro, Park Blake, Ballymacfairwhan and Sweep the Yard. They all went out.
If you had those 12 left in the competition, you'd be talking about the great competition you had.
But what I'm saying is that to show you the depth. Look at those 12 in. I mean, if they were still in the competition, you say that there's still a great competition to be won, a great winner to come out of it. Like, that's how good the level is, and also how there were a couple of upsets. Obviously, from my own point of view, Coolavani Duke was very disappointing, I felt. And you mightn't have been as surprised as I was, maybe. And a couple of the others, that we probably weren't as surprised that they were knocked out, even though they are very smart dogs. We kind of half saw it coming. So
yeah, the only thing, like you were saying there about Goulaveni Duke, like, I don't get me wrong, I think he's a very, very bright prospect. I just didn't think he deserved to be as high in the betting as he was on the strength of maybe 1 or 2 runs in All Age Company. I think he had an awful lot to prove still. Now, that doesn't mean he actually ran okay in terms of the way he found his position off the second bend the other evening. But then Croker Spirit outpaced him into the third bend and he didn't find an awful lot of the home straight. But I think there's a lot to come from him in the coming year. I just thought perhaps he was a touch short in the market. We had stated that the 9-2 about Susie Sapphire, well, some were going, well, she's pretty short after 2 defeats. We said, no, that's perfectly fair. She hits the lid, she goes around and does it. She's going to be 5-2. I'll tell you what, I'd scream for a bit of 5-2 at this moment in time. Carl, you have her in at 7-4, Susie Sapphire. Do you know what? One more start, she's going to be shorter than 7-4 in the final.
Yeah, I mean, we on 7-4, and to be fair, we saw money last night for her straight away. To be fair, I think I'm with you. I think she's the one they've all got to beat. I think she's definitely I just everything about it ticks every box. She does everything she does. The draft, a draw for the next round semi-final. I mean, I don't see her beat on Saturday. So for me, she lines up very short for the final.
In terms of like you've trained some really good bitches over the years. What was the one in the last 2 or 3 years? Gilo
Blissful.
That's the one. Yeah. Gilo Blissful. She was capable of a flying start. But the other night, Susie Sapphire did a 3:34. It was like she wasn't in boxes. She was 2.5 clear after a matter of strides. She's clear on the opening bend. She does 16.96 to the third bend. Tommy intimated it there. Romeo Magico, who we definitely think the penny has dropped. I think this is a fully mature greyhound now. I thought it was an incredible run from him in defeat. He closed a little bit to the third bend, but when they hit the lids like that, there's not much you can do, really, is there?
No, that's a sign of something special. You're witnessing something special when you've got bitches that can come out like that and stay like that. I mean, the thing I took out of the race Saturday when I rewatched them again yesterday, she's still going on after the line. She's not as though she's short of that run, stopping again or like that. She at the third down the back. I see what Tommy said. She didn't look to herself, but I think that's more credit to the dog that were behind her. And that once again, when she's coming home, she was always holding the Romeo dog and the way she went away after the line, I think she's just going to get better and better every week. And she's definitely up there with just probably going to be one of the best that we've ever seen.
Yeah, Tommy, we had said the previous week that she did rally on the run in. You could see the signs were there. It's very, like, I don't bother often writing on the card led to escape, because it often means little dogs, take the foot off the pedal, and some dogs power into the escape. But I thought it was pretty pertinent that she led to the escape the other night. I think it was a sign of where she's going and how she is.
I wouldn't like to see her getting too clever. when they get too smart is when they stop doing what you want them to do. She, like, as I said to you, visually I thought down the back I was a little bit concerned. I thought she'd been picked up, but then she railed brilliantly around the last 2 bends, and maybe Romeo Magico was slightly checked or something. Maybe he was going to meet her in a challenging position at the wrong time, but all of a sudden she took a couple of lengths out of him again. And then, as you say, even though Romeo Magico was running a superb race and running on strongly, she was staying at it all the way to the line.
She always had his measure. She was never going to be past.
I think so. Even though he's a classy dog now, and as you say, the penny has dropped with him. So, and it's 29, 45. I mean, that's not a whole lot away from where she was last year. And
it's a cold February night. You know what I mean? You look at the rest of the times,
At this time of the year, you can take a bit more off that. So effectively, it's very, very close to where she was last year. Like, you can imagine in a 2 runs time that she'd be right there. It'll be the work then for Owen will be trying to keep her, or to maybe let her down and pick her back up again a couple of times during the year to do the same thing, because you can't keep that level of performance all year. That's phenomenal stuff. If you do that.
I was going to ask Carl that. Is that a concern, Carl? Like, that she is going to, like, let's say next week or the week after, all signs in the past would suggest she's going to be at her very best in the final. Is that a slight concern for Owen McKenna? That obviously you want to win the Easter Cup, but there are the Oaks, the Derbies later in the year. How do you keep her going, or do you deflate her and bring her back up, or do you just keep her ticking along?
I think with a bitch, it's a lot harder with a bitch. You've got that, that they're going to hit that peak at some point, and then you're going to need that break or need that, like you said, letting down. I think that's where Owen will have to sit down and make his plans and his decision where he goes. I don't think it'll affect him in the next few weeks, because he's got a cherry ripe after 2 runs and she's going forward. But he'll have a big decision to make after the Easter Cup, where he goes, whether he decides to come to England, stay in Ireland, and make the Irish, derby his main target. That'll be all down to Owen to make the plans and sit down and think where's going to be best to get the best out of her. I've no doubt, I'm sure that he'd like to come to the English derby way, but I'm also sure that defending a back-to-back Irish derby would just be something unreal.
Yeah, we better move on because it isn't talking Susie Sapphire. All I know is that I think it's a problem you wouldn't mind having, Carl.
100%. Listen, I always got to the habit that I don't know how it ended up, but we did end up having more nice pictures than we did than dogs.
It seems to be that's sometimes the case with certain kennels. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just, obviously they love your cheeky smile or something, Carl. Do you know what I mean?
It was the people that ring me and say, I've got a nice bitch, and I could never say no to a nice bitch.
Yeah, myself and Tommy, well, I'm surrounded by women. Tommy has at least 2 or 3 boys in their house. He's sort of covered, but I'm surrounded by women. I just attract women, I can't see why, apart from my obviously rugged good looks and unbelievable charm. We'll move on very quickly before Tommy actually rubs his eyebrows off. Behind him, Romeo Magico, Tommy, we've touched on this. I think he's more of the finished article this year. I think he's a serious talent. If we could just give him that trapping ability every night, the consistency at boxes, he's as fast as any dog around, perhaps with the exception of Susie Sapphire.
Yeah, look at his sections, even the 3 runs, the 5.25 and the 2 5.50s recently, 2.08, that's good. 3.58, so 3.49 the other night, it's okay, but it gets you in a little bit of trouble at the very top level in terms of you have to do something special. Now, it was a superb run. It's as good a run as he's ever produced, if you ask me. I mean, it's at least right up there. And you know what? He's not overly raced either, is he? What's he got, about 30 races, I think?
30 races, yeah.
Yeah, he's not overly raced, you know what I mean? He's a dog that, as you say, fully mature now. And yeah, you would just like to see him you'd like to guarantee if you're going to back him or if you're going to get involved, you'd like to know what the dog's going to do in the first few yards, and you're just not certain yet. But we are certain that he still has that ability. He went off 2-1 behind Susie Sapphire. She was 7-4 in the heat the other night. That'll tell you the level that he has been running to and what people think of him. He was obviously well supported the other night.
Carl, is he a type of dog that could be, a real toaster greyhound? Perhaps a slight change in the mechanism at boxes. It's a slightly different timing issue. The box is open when the hare is passed rather than Ireland, where it's supposed to be 45 degrees as the hare is actually passing. Could that suit? Could it improve his trapping? If it does, he could be a player at toaster.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a player at toaster. He come over last year and it was a very raw pup then.
Very raw,
and, he got all the eyes on him then because of the trials that he'd done, the runs he'd done in Tralee. But for me, same again, he's matured, and as long as he adjusted the new mechanism, and the traps have all been changed at toaster, so that should suit the Irish dogs this year a lot better. I think he's definitely a toaster type. He'll be up there with top of Graham's team coming over. I'm sure he will. You
heard him there, Tommy. He just said Ireland are certain to win this year's English Derby. Fair play to you, Carl.
That market's got up this morning.
Back in third spot, Price's Jet. Tommy, he's an old pal of ours, never runs a bad race. If someone said to me the other night, well, I thought where he was the third bend, he should have been very close, but that's not his style, really. He's a powerful greyhound. He runs hard throughout. He got the 750 at a bit of a push, but he's definitely a dog to first be on the bunny. But at the same time, he has the pace to challenge in from behind. I thought it was a good run. He's beaten 2 3/4 lengths by the Derby champion doing the fastest run of the night. I can't find a fault in it.
I can't either. I thought if you I think if you were watching that race and thinking that maybe he should have picked them up, then you're probably thinking maybe Susie Sapphire's not at her best or something. If that's the way you were probably thinking, then maybe with the question marks of where she was exactly. Do you know what I mean? And I say maybe they fell into the trap that I fell into, thinking that maybe down the back she wasn't as wildly impressive as she had been. Obviously, just Romeo Magico was doing something special down the back. So maybe there's a bit of that in it. You can't fault the dog. He's won 11 races. He's almost always in the first 3. He runs his heart out. He's been running at the top level since I was a child, and is maintaining that form. So no, it's a cracking effort. You don't see him going winning classics now at this stage of his career, but by God, he's still competitive at least at the very least.
Carl, he's the type of dog you would have loved to have your hands on. That 660 around Sheffield doesn't take as much getting as the 750 at Shelbourne Park. You would have made for it.
It would have been, yeah. It'd have been a ideal sort of 3-step sort of dog.
Yeah.
And starting on a bend where he could, his all-round pace would take him to the front earlier, and yeah, that would have been his sort of trip. That and one more would have been ideal.
Yeah, it was actually a good night for Paul Hennessy. He had 3 runners in the quarterfinals. He got 3 of them through. Price's Avenue, or Price's Jet, should I say, being the first. The second being Beach Avenue in the second heat, who was third. But this was a fine display by Fast Fit Paddy. Tommy, I'm always in danger of underestimating this greyhound. I must say, from the draw, I gave him absolutely zero chance the other evening. I thought the firms were 5 and 6 to 1. I thought he was an 8 to 1, 10 to 1 chance. After 3 strides, it's clear he's an even money chance, because he was always going to clear Surrey's Pee-wee into the corner. He did so. He went on about it very well. 29.67. Is it second fastest, or joint second fastest time? 17.34 of a 3.53. He's just a thoroughly likable greyhound.
Yeah, it was a strange heat in some ways, but from behind, but it was just straightforward for him. He ended last year in good form. He was a Ledger semi-finalist, wasn't he? Semi-finalist. Yeah,
he got to later stages, yeah.
I think he was a semi-finalist. And he's obviously the couple of runs in early February brought him on a lot. He was getting into trouble in the first 2 of them. Then he came out and won his first round heat in great style, and he was just really impressive. Now, if you had said to me, dog will do 3.53 in this heat and lead around and go clear, I would have said, I think you're wrong here now, because obviously I fancy Coulivanny Duke quite strongly. When it comes to punting, I'd forgive the dog, Coulivanny Duke, the performance, because he's still quite inexperienced. But when it comes to punting, I'll let him prove it to me what he can do in the future. He came out again slightly awkward, and then 4 came in and just got a little bit of crowding.
Yeah, but before he got a chance to run, he was sort of found himself without a bit of space. Yeah,
but he shouldn't have. I mean, I thought he was a certainty in that company. I know you're saying maybe that you felt he was short going up into open company for second time, kind of that level a second time. I thought it was an ideal opportunity to turn second at worst. It was an ideal opportunity. It just didn't happen for him. Now you'd have to forgive him. He's inexperienced, and he can still turn out to be a seriously good dog. He has that ability, but it's a step back from my opinion of what I thought he might be. I have it on hold at the moment, is what I'd say. But I take nothing away from the winner. I mean, that was just like, as you say, once he led, he was shorter than even money, and you had like three really strong stayers himself. Derby's like Beach Avenue, first, second, third.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like it was a race that sort of fell apart in behind. Coulivanny Duke did run a remarkable first and second bend to go second into the back straight. But Croker Spirit, we know exactly what he's about. He can be good to the corner. He's a bit inconsistent to start, but he is massive down the back straight. We know that. He got up the inside of Coulivanny Duke. The two did bump slightly, and all of a sudden then you had, we intimated last week, the likes of Stories Pee-wee, Derby's Delight and Beach Avenue coming up behind. You can't afford any mistakes in the heat like that, or else they're going to swamp you late. And that's exactly what happened. Derby's Delight was last early. He ran a remarkable race. He rails around the third and fourth bends, comes between the pack, flies up the home straight. He's just a dog you can have untold sport with. But Fast Fit Paddy, Carl, he was just a thoroughly deserving winner. He just did everything right.
Yeah, he did. And Coulivanny Duke was the best bet dog of the night, anti-post and for the heat. And I'll be the same. I think we had him 6-7 to 1. Fast Fit Paddy. I just couldn't see him getting a run. I underestimated him. In the first round, but once he brought like that, the race was over, and he were very impressive to the eye. And I think he's one that definitely gone under the radar. Has come into the competition, one of the less fancied ones that is coming right, obviously at the right time.
Yeah, Declan McDonough's doing a great job with this dog. That was his 8th career success, but he has the 12 seconds as well. He's very rarely out of the frame. Tommy, hard to believe he has a 3.44 on his card, and the other night was a 3.53. I can't see where he's found the 9 spots on that occasion, because he just seemed to the eye looked like he was doing everything right. Is there a sense that maybe the clock, the 3.53, doesn't give it a true sense of what he did?
I don't. Probably not. Like he had to battle. The one dog came out. Stories Pee-wee came out to the middle of the track, and he was edging in towards Stories Pee-wee, and he kind of had to. And maybe his most impressive part was from the line into the first bend is where he kind of took a hold of the race. Really, I mean, he's about a neck up at the line. Neck or half length maybe up at the line. So I think it's from there on into the bend. Look, let's be honest about it. We've underestimated him the last couple of rounds, and we're probably going to underestimate him again next week, to be quite honest about it.
In fairness, when he went to the front, he quickly put it to bed, Carl.
Yeah.
He pulled clear down the back straight. I want to ask you about Derby's Delight in second spot, Carl. From a bookmaking point of view, do you have to be still worried about each way chances these days, or are punters moved away from that? Is it a win-only situation, or do you still get the likes of the Derby's Delight and Beach Avenues attracted that each way support?
Yeah, you do. I mean, anti-post, I think Beach Avenue was the angle for the each-way support. And the factor as well is the wide running factor. I think he's always a big play for me when you're looking at the competitions. The lack of wide runners around gives you, if you can sneak a wide runner through a round or two, and especially a strong sort like Priceless Jet and Beach Avenue were both the dogs that I thought, we were very cautious on the each-way money side. But yeah, there's still a call for it. I mean, majority of the money is for the win party, but you'll find the value punters. We laid Beach Avenue at 50-1.
You haven't been tempted to do a win-only market rather than each-way market. Like in a win-only market, I assume the likes of Derby's Light and Beach Avenue would be, well, not considerably bigger, but they'd certainly be bigger prices than it would be in each-way.
Oh, yeah, massively, yeah, they would be, yeah. They would be a lot bigger. You'll find, you're probably 80% of your punters are looking for the win market mainly, unless there is, a price Rick, and they think, well, that is too big and to keep qualifying. But they're the sort of the dogs that they look at, your Beach Avenue, your Derby Flights, and Priceless Jets. I mean, I think we did push Beach Avenue under duress to 50-1 for an hour on the start of the first round, because he was a selection on. We won a bit of an event with Fergal O'Brien's yard, and they've got old Tommy, the retired dog there. He put Tommy's tips up, and Beach Avenue was one of them, so we had to boost it. If it's that and Romeo Magico, so they're both going well. But
listen, I'll gladly take a score each way at 50-1 if you want to offer it now. What is it? First four, is it?
He is. What is he now? He's 16 now, But listen, that was, I think that it was a bit of fun, but to push them dogs. But we got a bit of interest as well at 50-1.
Yeah, I can imagine you did. I wish I had taken a little bit of 50-1. Croker Spirit went out, Coulivanny Duke went out, and Stories Pee-wee went out, Tommy. It didn't really happen for the three of them on the night. As you saw, we spoke about Coulivanny Duke. Croker Spirit is a little bit frustrating at times. I wish he just get a start, because when he does hit the lids, he's probably as fast as most dogs in the country. And Stories Pee-wee, it probably is a bit on the sharp side for him against the real 550-yard greyhounds. But three fast greyhounds going through, 4, 5, and 6, 2 inside seeds, and a wide Beach Avenue still there. Just a delight to own that fellow, Tommy.
Yeah, he's just never out of any race. That's it. That's the best way to say it with him. No matter what you put him in against the Derby winner, put him in against anything you like, and he'll find a way to get involved in the finish. He's just that type of dog.
And must mention, he was runner-up last year.
Yeah, and that's hence a reason I assume there are plenty of people out there who have backed him each way, taking a chance at the price, because he's the type of dog that will. And Paul is superb with these type of dogs, keeping them going, keeping them to be able to produce at a very high level.
I know he had to swing wide and whatnot, was coming around the outside, but for Derby's delight to actually come from behind him is a fair achievement.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Heat 3, which for me was I don't know, strange affair. At one time only, Carl, I'm sure he was in as your warm favourite. Led early, had done 29.85 on a slow track the previous week. Was it a case of that took a bit out of him? Did you see anything in his run the other night that would suggest he'd be beaten 2 lengths in 30 seconds?
No, I thought once from the week before when he led round, and I thought that were him. He'd be hard to peg back and beat. I mean, he's a Laurels champion, and you'd only expect him to come on for his first run. I was surprised to see him beat, and the best bet dog in the week was Sentimental Lad from an early show, so on 92.
That was purely the draw hunters with 5 diving inwards, or people expecting 5 to dive inwards.
Yeah, and he was a bit of an eye catcher in the first round. It looked like he'd come on as well, but. No, I couldn't. I did one time only led. I thought that would be race over. To be fair, and to see him finish third, yeah, you just have little doubt. Is he 100% right? I mean, to be getting back run like that, yeah, 2 good dogs that come and beat him, but the time says that he wasn't at his best one time only.
It could have been a tired run. There's no question. The speed at which they caught him into the third bend, I was actually surprised he was only beaten 2 lengths. If Barefoot Supremo had got past him at that point, it could have easily been 4 or 5 lengths. Barefoot Supremo is a dog with a lot of pace, not an awful lot of wins. That's his 4th career success from 17 starts. There's no question the engine is there, Carl. He's a fast greyhound. Yeah. It's just a case of putting everything together.
That's the same with the competition again. There's a lot of fast greyhounds there, and they have to be 100% right, and everything has to be right on the night. Otherwise, they will be found out, because the ones behind are as good as the ones in front. There is that the quality and depth is it's phenomenal.
Yeah, the aforementioned Sentimental Lad was second. Were you watching it with a little bit of intrepidation going into the opening corner? I suppose Barefoot Supremo, did you a turn at that point? He ran off, pushed Sentimental Lad wide, who then found himself in fourth, but still at the third bend, he's there pitching. And when Barefoot Supremo was probably trying to look for the same racing line as One Time Only, Sentimental Lad was stalking them in third. And were you watching it between sort of, between the fingers?
Definitely, the seat went back on that when he coming off the last bend there. I did think he was in a position to come and pet set the race, but I suppose the right dog, got round in front of him, and he weren't going to then back run, the barefoot dog. But there was a time there I thought, here he goes round the outside here. I thought between the third and fourth, I thought he was the winner. I would have, bet him running that he would have been looked at the winner.
Well, Carl's seat went back. Tommy, did your seat go back? What was your take on this race?
Funny enough, because I thought the same as you, Ian, that One Time Only led, and they led about 4 lengths out of the second bend. Like, I mean, there was a small touch of the visuals with the Susie Sapphire visuals where it looked like he got caught a bit too quickly down to the third bend. And yes, he's only beaten a couple lengths, as you say. It would make me think, when that was 1 in 30 seconds, it would just make me think that if he went back to that 30-14 and Susie Sapphire went forward to 29-45. I think that the gap is just opening now between her and probably most of the field. That kind of highlights that to me, to be quite honest about it, because you need to be going forward in a competition like this. I think she's 7-4 to win the competition, and I think that's perfectly fair. She was 9-2 last week. There was even 5-1 available during the week, which surprised me, because there were actually one firm was going 5-1 joy favourites, Quilmany Duke and Susie Sapphire. I think the 7-4 is fine, and this kind of highlights it, because One Time Only would be one of the early pacers left in it, and
he's drawn on her inner next night.
Yeah, he's in 2, is he? And she's in 4, isn't that right? Yeah. Like that might have a small effect, but I think like it's hard to say. If you're looking at Carol, I'll tell you now, if you're looking at One Time Only now, and you look at last week's run, and then you look at Saturday night's run, you can't predict that he's going to go back and do 29.60 next Saturday night. You really can't.
No, you'd be very hopeful that he'll bounce back for the run a little bit, but you can't see him doing a 29.40. And he's done the 3.48 to the night. There was nothing wrong with the way he ran to the halfway. He does a 3.48 to the night. The bitch did a 3.34. That's 50 yards. She's 2 lengths faster. That tells its own story.
Yeah, and this is the type of one, when I look from a punting point of view, this is the type of one where I discount him as winning next weekend, and let him prove otherwise to me. Like, and that's not being disrespectful to the Greyhound or the connections. That's just saying that I've seen enough there to think that maybe I'd be a little bit concerned, and enough to put me off him. He's a seriously fast Greyhound. I actually the part there was a little bit of disappointment in my point of view from that the other night, is because we've just been saying we thought he had started the year better than ever, looking better than ever, and potentially this was his chance to go on, and maybe he still will, but this was a good chance for a competition. I didn't think there was a huge amount of early pace in. It was nearly an ideal opportunity for him to get off the front most nights and kind of maybe advance all the way to the final and even be a player in it. So maybe he will still do that. But I just have question marks now after Saturday night.
Yeah, of course, he didn't win the heat. He was only third. Barefoot Supremo, Tommy, there's been never a doubt about his engine. He did 29.90 in defeat last week. That's estimated, a 30-20 run, shall we say. And the other night, 30 seconds, you can take maybe a length and a half away from the opening corner, got held up a length or 2, perhaps around the bottom 2 corners. It could have easily been a 29.70 type run. I think the step up to 550s really suited him. He's showing more early into the opening corner. He's not trapping. And it's only that last 25, 30 yards where he's really actually making a bike-catching ground into the bend. I thought it was very notable the other night that Jack's Little Thing came away well, but was outpaced into the corner by Barefoot Supremo. I think I'd hope there's an awful lot better to come from Jack's Little Thing, because he's certainly not firing at present.
No, he's not. With the winner in, he was 10 spots slower than the previous week. With a dog like that, you never mind. I don't look at the clock, because the type of dog that is, if it isn't going to lead, there's always going to be something to sidestep or something that might just hold your momentum slightly or whatever. So effectively, he ran as well, maybe slightly better than the previous round. It was a big performance. I think Carl is quite thankful for it. It was a big performance to hold Sentimental Lad to the line. It was.
The smile says it all.
Yeah. It really was. The sentimental lad, as I said, we were talking about him last week. Seriously fast dog, and so for Barefoot Supremo, again, he looks almost, maybe not quite, but almost a Beach Avenue type, doesn't he? The winner.
Yeah, he's a very fast greyhound. I think he probably has more early dashing.
I think
he'll be more sort of taking sort of, turning third, second, third, fourth some nights rather than Beach Avenue some nights having to come from off the back. I think he'll be closer to the pace. And as a result, he should be qualifying more nights than often. He could turn into a real competition dog.
That's exactly it. But isn't Paul brilliant with that type of dog?
Yeah,
as we were saying. Yeah. So that like he is the type of dog that even though we go into the start of competitions like the Derby, disregarding him saying, no, he's no chance of winning the Derby, he's no chance of winning this. But the next thing we'll have to talk about him a bit more and more every week because he'll still be there. That's the type of dog he is.
And Sentimental Lad was in third, Tommy. We've said it. Very fast greyhound. I think he's after getting over the issues he had at the back end of last year. He caught my eye on more than one occasion, but then started checking on his corners or not quite running them with the same fluency. He's a different greyhound. I'd say they've got to the bottom of him. Again, things go right, he could easily be in the final. Like, he's only one more round to get through. He could easily be in the final of an Easter Cup. He's going to need to take a flyer. There's no question about it because there's some seriously fast greyhounds in it. But hard to dismiss. Carl, just in a matter of interest, what price do you have Sentimental Lad in it?
Anti-post is 12-1 to win it now, and he's 4-1 in the second semi-final to win the semi-final.
Okay, we'll move on to the last of the heat. Sorry, the three we lost out there: Swords Maestro, Jack's Little Thing, Cum Leo. We spoke about Jack's Little Thing. It was just a flat display from him. He's just not quite back to the form he was in. It took him a while last year to find his feet, so hopefully it'll be a similar case this year. He will find his feet. Cum Leo didn't quite get a start, edged inwards into the back of four. Jack's Little Thing could never get involved after finishing going around the corner last spot, and Swords Maestro was fifth off the opening corner, but just couldn't really get involved. Moving on to Heat 4, and this was the Graham Holland show, or so it seemed before the race. Scarty Yank ran a big race in the feet, but Night Tornado, Tommy's just doing things right. And we speak of this period last year where it just didn't happen from the first 6 or 7 months of last year, but he really came to form the back end of the year. And now September 18, well, he really seems to be at the peak of his powers again.
Yeah, Graham's just doing a great job of keeping him going and keeping him at that sort of level of form. He came out the other night, he moved a little bit right. He drove the bend maybe better than Bacchus Vieira on the outside of him, so just to take advantage of his position and ran another cracking race, 29.67. I mean, that gets you to the latter end of most classics if you can do that quite consistently, and he can. And what did he do last week? 29. They took off 30 last week, so 29.66 is estimated. 29.67 the other night. I mean, he's a smashing dog in the form of his life. If you see the runs he got beaten in and this may be where his issue is. He got beaten in a lot of the 5.25s that he had run at the very, very top level coming into the competition. Maybe just that little bit of sharpness. Like, it took him to the bend. It took him to the bend to take real control of the race. But it was impressive after that. I think he's a smashing dog. As you say, there's it's a lot like Graham's other dog we were talking about a few minutes ago, saying he just seems to be in great form and matured a bit maybe.
Yeah, he has matured a bit.
Well, he had an issue. He had an issue. Obviously, we spoke about it last year quite a number of times. He had an issue, which obviously took a lot of time to get right, and he has him right now, and he's doing the right thing, keeping him going. And the dog, in fairness, is repaying him by producing that level of performance every week.
Carl, he looks a real Shelbourne Park greyhound. That's, given the frame, his gallop, just everything he does, the way he moves, he just looks a Shelbourne Park greyhound.
He did, yeah. I mean, I remember him coming over after his puppy escort when he coming over to England for the Derby, and was 27-9 Shelbourne runs in Shelbourne. He looked serious now, and he was just never the same dog over here. He's gone back, and like you guys mentioned, he had a stop-start here, but he definitely looks back to something like the finished article now. It was a great difficult heat on Saturday, and he ended up turning it into a bit of a possession and made it look a bit easy in the end. When he brought, I think there was some serious dogs in there.
Yeah, it was a heat where there was just a lot of pace, Tommy, wasn't there? Like, even you look at the outsiders of the party, Sweep the Yard and Ballymac-Fairwell. Like, Ballymac-Fairwell was disputing favouritism last year's English Derby and the Laurels. I thought he actually ran okay. Got a bit squeezed into the corner and on the bend, but he was there, banging contention. Sweep the Yard bumped. Part Blake, it's not really happened for him yet. He was squeezed very early. Got done on the opening corner. Scarty Yank turned third. but showed big pace down the back straight and home. He's a very strong running greyhound. He can actually hit the lids. That's the one thing about him. He's a very natural starter normally. He hasn't hit the lids twice now at Shelbourne Park, but perhaps just getting used to the place. Just don't rule that out. I thought Bocco's Vieira, again, just looked a little bit green. He just tends to be a bit... not soft in his gallop, that's the wrong term, but just he tends to drift around a little bit, middle to wide. You can still see he's a dog that's only having his fourth start.
100%, Ian. The more I watch that heat, the more I think that he should have driven around the bend in front. But lack of experience probably and whatever, just needs that bit of maturity, because God, he's got unreal talent. He really has. Because if he's matching Night Tornado to the first bend or even slightly in front of him, I just think he kind of concedes his position a little easier than you would like. But then he's only had the 3 or 4 runs, so I mean, we're entitled to let him off quite a lot at the moment. But you would know, you'd like to see in the next 4 or 5 runs that that some night he just decides, you know what, I can do this. I'm going to drive into the bend, and just gets into the habit of it then. Because I think he could be he could develop into a Derby contender.
Yeah, no question about that, Carl. Yeah. He's a dog where I was going to say, like, it's now he's learning so much in the Easter Cup, but you'd still like in 2 or 3 runs time, well, let's say when the Easter Cup is over, you still like him to get a handy one out the front. And just to remember, this is what it's all about, getting to the front, showing that bit of drive and that bit of purpose. But you can see it's there. It's bubbling under the surface. And he's going to take off one of these nights.
No, definitely. I mean, to be fair, for a novice pup to be going in this sort of lineup in the competition for his first task, it's a big test for any dog. But for a young dog like that, and I think he's shaping very well, and he's shown in parts on Saturday night. You know, when he does become the finished article, there's a serious dog there, and yeah, that'd be ideal. You'd want to be maybe taking him away after this competition, find him a trial state maybe for the Conclave, things like that. Just get his bed back in front.
Unfortunately, he doesn't even qualify for these in October 19. He's very light to race, but he just has that little bit of age on his side. Obviously, he had an issue or 2 as a pup, but he still only had the 4 starts. But I agree with you. Find a race. You got to find a race for him, just a race where he can go and just take control. And again, remember, it's nice to be out front here on my own, and that might just bring that little bit of drive forward to him. Scarty Yank, Carl. You've seen him twice now this week. I don't know whether you look back in his form from last year. He is capable of an absolutely flying start. Hasn't got it yet at Shelbourne Park, but I think it's clear to see he has the pace from the second bend to match most of them.
100%, yeah. I mean, I've seen him. I caught my eye in the first round and definitely caught my eye again in the second round. I'd imagine he's the sort of dog that, will keep qualifying for races and finals. Ideal competition dog, and probably would attract a great interest from English buyers, because I think he'd be a great short 6-bend dog in England and make a great competition dog. Your 575 Romford, stuff like that.
Pat Buck will be ringing us now to edit that. He says, this fella's not leaving my kennel. I think Pat thinks a lot of this fella.
Yeah, but you look at these competitions and you spot dogs that you think, he'd be an ideal sort of dog to competition campaign over here for the competition. He's got plenty to go out at home and there'd be no need for him to come over. But yeah, he catches me eye. That sort of dog will always qualify for you and always be a great competition dog.
The 3 dogs that went out, Sweep the Yard, Park Blake and Ballymac Fair One, their quality is there for all to see. I'm still waiting for Park Blake to take off. I think he's as talented as a dog we have in the country. Just didn't happen from the first round or in the second round. I forgive him for that. I still thought, maybe 2 or 3 runs now before the English Derby, get him primed up. I think he's an ideal toaster dog if he can find his form. Tommy, Scarty Yank, you never got a chance to reference there, Tommy. Big run in defeat.
Yeah, huge run. And for a dog that last year when he was drawn inside, he headed straight out. I think he's matured a bit. I think he goes straight up from 5, but I think he wants to run the inside line or run the bends quite tight, reasonably tight for a middle seed. So he needs to kind of get out a bit quicker to avoid getting into trouble trying to do that. But he's seriously fast dog. He's still lightly raced.
I was going to say it's hard to believe that was only his 12th start the other night. We seem to have seen plenty of him. I suppose we saw him a lot in the Kirby last year and things.
Yeah, he's did he win it? I think he won a first round heat in the Ledger as well. He's a seriously fast dog. And as I said, I think they were a bit surprised or a bit disappointed that he exited the Ledger fairly early. He's probably that sort of class. He's one now that could be dangerous. I just would like to. What will concern me maybe is the draw if he gets to a final, just where he'll be drawn. That'll be key to me to his chance. I know he's a middle seat, so he'd have to be out quite wide. But just a small bit of a concern. I think he's matured a bit, and I don't think he will be diving across the track. And maybe I'm completely wrong about this, but I think I'd like him in 3 or 4.
Wouldn't like you to be completely wrong about anything. We'll take a quick look at the semi-finals and then we'll talk to Carl about their anti-post betting. The first semi-final, Fast Fit Paddy's in one time only two, Derby's Delight is in three, Susie Sapphire, Scarty Yank in five, and Beach Avenue out in trap six. It all depends what Susie Sapphire does at boxes. She does another 334. I suppose we're all expecting her to probably make every inch of the running. One time only, potentially going up at second. Scarty Yank can go up well, Fast Fit Paddy can go up well, and then you'll have Derby's Delight and Beach Avenue looking to pick up the pieces. Do you have any mad angle on this one, Carl? Is there, are we looking at Susie Sapphire bombing out, making all, or do you have a sneaky one?
No, I don't. To be fair, I do. The draw, I think, worked out well for her. I think the dog's on her inside. She's going to clear the three. Obviously, the six. He's not a condition. He's not going to go to the bend with her. And I think she's got enough to lead into the bend. And I do think 1 and 2 might post a bit of an hazard. One time only should be leading off the inside, but Fast Fit Paddy looked like on the previous week when he won one that he can go up well enough from the one. He looked better drawn, and I can only see turning around the length in front. And for me, it's a case of what qualifies behind them. And I think they were sticking one of the old boys in there. I think Beach Avenue and Scarty Yank where they're coming on for the places. I think.
So you're going to go. What way you going? You're going 4, 5, 6.
I'm going 4, 5. I'm going to go 4 with 5 and 6 finishing. I think 1 and 2 could cause hazards to each other.
Okay.
One time only, should lead the one to the bend, but if the Fast Fit Paddy, shows the pace that he showed last week from the second, he'll be an hazard and just maybe rub each other's the wrong way.
Tommy?
I'd be happy enough with the 14 to 1 Scarty Yank because I think the draw isn't bad. I think obviously it's a help that Susie Sapphire be out and gone.
I tend to agree with you there. Agree with you.
Give a little bit of space to Scarty Yank. I can see that finishing second, a very good second. I can see it, and then as I say, we'll see what the draw will be like in the final. Hopefully, but I think fair. If you're having a bet now, quarter the odds 3 places. I think the 14 to 1 Scarty Yank is very fair. Okay,
and your third qualifier?
It's top or bottom. I would probably just go with the top Fast Fit Paddy. He's in superb form. He has a good draw because one time only will edge a bit right. Should give him plenty of space on the run to the bend. Whether he can position himself well or not, I don't know. But I just think he'll come up short. Even if he's 29-49, he'll come up short against Susie Sapphire and probably Scarty Yank, who's a dog who's going to do 29-30 some night.
Yeah, I'll go with 4 and 5. I think it's going to be tightened up at third. If there is any traffic, I think Derby's Delight might just put his nose up on the line, or Beach Avenue. If there's no traffic, probably Fast Fit Paddy has the draw. It's not one I'd like to be calling too easily. I'll end up putting my 1, 2, 3 on the card later on the week, so I don't have to give all that much. On to the second semi-final: Barefoot Supremo, Romeo Magico, Night Tornado, Sentimental Lad, Bacos Vieira, and Price's Jet. It's a more muddling affair. A lot can happen in this. They're all very, very fast greyhounds, but there's not one greyhound that's absolutely going to hammer from boxes and do everything right. Even Romeo Magico, Night Tornado are the probably 2 most likely pace setters. Neither are what you could say overly consistent at boxes. Night Tornado, in fairness, I'm probably doing him a disservice. He's more consistent nowadays than he's ever been. It's a tough one to call, Tommy.
Yeah, well, it's a decent draw for Romeo Magico. You would hope, but again, like you said, we talked about. It's just not a natural start. Well, not always a flying starter. I think it's a good draw for him. I think he'd probably take beating. I think it's not a bad draw for Bacos Vieira either. I don't think it's that bad.
Well, if he does a similar start to last night, you'd expect him to go up in front of 4 and 6 and then get a run around the outside.
It's just, I just will have concerns. Of course, you'd be watching the first 2 bends, see what he does, particularly if there's 1, maybe 2 dogs in front of him. Will he concede a bit of ground, or what will he do? I'm going to take a chance that he'll qualify anyway. I think his talent is definitely there, and just find a way through. It would be remarkable for a dog with so little experience to be in an Easter Cup final. It would be a huge performance. I don't think he'll win it. I think it could be a Graham Holland 1, 2, 3. And at the same time, sure, Paul Hensey has Barefoot Supremo drawn ideally. Price's Jet drawn well. So, but I think I'm going to go Romeo Magico to beat Bacos Vieira. I like the previous Easter. I'm not really sure what will be third.
Carl?
Yeah, so I think the draws worked out well. I don't think there's anything badly drawn and anything obvious. I had a similar angle. I thought Night Tornado and Romeo were going to the bend together, and just Romeo getting the edge of the bend and running the back straight and just take it. I have Romeo beating Tornado with one of the finishes in 1 and 6, maybe making the third.
Okay. I think if 2 and 3 trap level, I think Romeo Magico wins. If they don't trap level and Night Tornado gets first run on them, it's a very different race. I'll go with Romeo Magico as well. I'll stick with Night Tornado to chase him home, and I think it's going to be tight enough for third. Bacos Vieira, I think will get a chance to finish third, but just whether a case of he's just wandering around a little bit with two dogs in front of him, perhaps, unless he took a flyer. It'd be no surprise to me to see him go around in front, and if he does, I think they'll all have to go to pick him up. Strange race, yeah.
100% right, Ian. Like the run the other night was I say he if he just had a bit more now, he might have actually led the other night. And with Night Tornado, who led him using the inside line the other night, he's not guaranteed to get a clear run with Romeo Magico in the race. So they could potentially bump. Anything could happen. Bacos Vieira has the pace to lead any of those. He really does. So I wouldn't be surprised. I won't fall down if he pops out and leads all.
Two fascinating semi-finals. I think we'll agree to that. The anti-post betting, Carl, 7-4, Susie Sapphire, perfectly fair, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where she needs to be. We all expect her to be lining up in the final, on that draw. So then you're thinking, what price she's going to be in the final? I mean, we've got 8-13 to win a semi, and there's not much you can see that you won't make an 8-13 to win the final. So if she lines up on the back of the run like last weekend, or even better run this weekend, then she's one they're all going to beat.
Tommy, I think that 7-4 is fair as well.
Oh, he was very fair. I think she began to separate herself from the field the other night, and like I say, with more to come. So I think extremely fair. As I said, I think the 14-1 Scarty Yank is more than fair as well.
She's 2 lengths faster than her nearest rival to the first bend. She is 17:07. Night Tornado did, so she's 11 spots faster than Night Tornado to the third bend. It just seems to be all pointing towards her. Romeo Magico is the 4-1. 9-1, one time only. That's a cautious 9-1, Carl.
Yeah, it is, because we're talking one night only from the first round, not the second round. You have to give the dog respect, what he's done prior to that. The second Saturday night might not have been him at his best, but he's more than capable of coming back, maybe showing a bit more qualifying, and then in any final, he's always going to be a player if he lines up in a final.
Of those three, Tommy?
No, I was just going to say that the first, from Susie Sapphire's point of view, I think the fact that there could be 6 inside seeds in the final, but I don't think there will be. I think the makeup of the two semi-finals suggests to be at least 2 seeds in it. So I mean, even that in itself is a bit of a help to her. So I think the 7-4 is really, really good.
Okie dokie. Sentimental Lad is a 12-1 chance. Barefoot Supremo 14, Scarty Yank 14. Tommy, you've spoken about that 14-1 Scarty Yank. That looks a perfectly fair price. I tend to agree. I thought he'd be. I thought he'd be where One Time Only was in the market, sort of that sort of fourth choice, not maybe disputing third choice in the market.
Like I'd have him ahead of a lot of the other like Sentimental Lad, even One Time Only. I have him ahead of them in the betting. He's certainly ahead of Barefoot Supremo. He's joined with that. He's just 2 points ahead of Beach Avenue. I'd have him as a much more likely winner of the competition. I know I can understand the each way side of Beach Avenue, but I think Scarty Yank has that potential that he can go round close and be a real player in the final. Whereas some of the ones you're looking at as each way bets, your Derby's, Delight and the like, probably aren't going to be competitive in the final, except for if they get there, except for in the last 50 yards. Whereas I think Scarty Yank can, if anything, went his way early in the race, I think he can win it.
Yeah, Carl, prepare for a bit of a charge in Scarty Yank, perhaps. Have you seen any nibble yet?
No, to be fair, from the prices weighing up last night, was the only bets we took overnight had all been Susie Sapphire. I mean, I do think she'll be popular all day.
Yeah, that's just people just beware the obvious. Like that's that's the one that stands out, I suppose. When you actually stand back and go, what will win it? That's the one that people are looking at. Yeah,
it's like Tom mentioned earlier, the fact that she was available at 5-1 last week is, I think so much got read into that first round, and probably too much. But that's pictures. I mean, she's come back. She's been introduced back in the most first competition is as good as this. You have to give them some leeway. That she's not going to be fully tuned first week, and I think there'll be a lot of people sat there now wishing they took the 5-1 last week, because that was too big.
Yeah, we're a skeptical bunch by nature, I think, and that's
yes.
And we did talk last year at length about how her best performance in each of her competitions last year that she won were in the final, the 3 of them. Even though, despite the fact that she'd been very good through each of the competitions, she was just brilliant in the final. So I mean, and you don't have to tell anybody how good Owen is at training. we have a lot of really top trainers here. And when you have a bitch that good in the right hands, I mean, you know, you're only expecting to peak at the right time.
We'll just race through the rest of these. 16 to 1 Peach Avenue, 16 Bacchus Vieira. 16 to 1 Bacchus Vieira could attempt a few as well. 16 Facet, Paddy Well Drawn, Prices Jet 22, and 33 to 1 Derby's Delight. You spoke there of Susie Sapphire and Owen McKenna. He had a treble, of course, on Saturday night. A great night for Owen. Dogs Are Flying, Droopy's Good, and Spinosaurus both winning well for him. In terms of a performer, Susie Sapphire, the fact that she produced her very best on the night that counted, is she one of them, Carl? Do you find with certain dogs or bitches that sometimes you can just get to the bottom of them easier than others, and it just seems that Owen knows the key with this lady, and that's probably the half the reason for her success.
100%. Tommy just mentioned it here. Owen knows how to produce on the final, and you get to the finals, and you know, once you get to know your bitches, I think they're a lot easier than the dogs. You know what makes them tick, you know what makes them work, and if he's done it 3 times, he absolutely, it will be easy for him, because he knows exactly what she needs, what work she needs, what she doesn't need, what she does between rounds, and he'll see signs in her at home that she's where she wants to be, or where she's at. And for me, that was shown again on Saturday night. She is just so special.
Yeah, really wonderful BresBet Easter Cup, Tommy. We have to give a mention to a little bit of the racing around the country. Firstly, Sing Along Sally. Speaking of, you know, ones that are on the end of a string, Pat Buckley knows how to pull this lady's strings. She's absolutely flying. She won the champion bitch stake the other night in Thurles in sensational fashion. She'll face tougher tests later in the year, but it's clear she's every bit as good as she was last year. Another clash of Sing Along Sally and Susie Sapphire in the future. Be good admission that night.
Yeah, she's a smashing bitch. I mean, and again, she was produced, in fairness to, you know, to produce her best when needed. I mean, she's another one that, as you say, on a string, or whatever phrase you want to use. It's great to see her back in such good form. And again, it just continues what we talked about so much last year, about how good the bitches were. And it wasn't just that they were fleeting; they're actually carrying it through to this year, which is pretty phenomenal. It really is, because it's difficult. You know, Carl know a lot more about this than I do. But like, you compete them, and then they can just go, and you just can't do anything about it. You just can't get them back. You know, they've been brilliant for a period, and all of a sudden you just can't get them back. But it's just to see them start this year as they had run right throughout last year, and some of them even back into the previous year. So yeah, they're a pretty phenomenal bunch. I think we're in a golden age of the bitches at the moment.
I think we're in a golden age of dogs, full stop, because I have to mention the Juvenile Classic the other evening at Tralee. Also, some sensational displays. Carl, if you had an open checkbook, you'd be heading to Tralee, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Last Friday would have been the day. We know. Yeah, no, there's some great. I mean, that is competition that's thrown up over the past, and you know, that's where you'd love to go and buy from, but you know, very difficult. But yeah, no, it's top class bunch again this year. You know, shame that, you know, Noel didn't wait till after the final to sell his dog back to England, but no, there's some very special ones in there.
Yeah, listen, you have to buy one or two of our best, you know, because the way we're racking them up over here, it's going to be a case of full steam ahead to Toaster. Just want to mention the heat winners. Mullingar Shuffle Fastaway always led 28-29, setting the standard. Brilliant run from him. In behind him, a couple of good runs. Mustang Jet showed great early speed again. Glengar Solar, I thought he ran a fine race in defeat. The third of the heats, De Bold Freddy. This fellow raced into the corner. I thought Droopy's Edison showed plenty of pace into the bend as well, but the Bold Freddy, what I really liked about him was the way he hammered up the home straight again. Very impressive display. And Kulavani Hoffa, big run from him. We Can Dream was in second. That was, of course, Magical Flyer in the opening round. 2 very fast greyhounds, but the one I'm going to take out of that heat is Hoodoo Brown. I think this is an incredibly fast greyhound, Tommy. Did you get a chance to look at the Juvenile Classic?
I did, yeah. I was impressed too with Droopy's Edison in defeat, but obviously, like, Dennis Fitzgerald's dog was seriously good. Mullingar Shuffle. I think there's no lack of quality in it at all. You have the Bold Freddy wasn't had an impressive performance yet again, but I think it's not going to let us down this year yet again. It looks just top class, absolutely class.
Carl, if you're talking to your friends around Toaster, tell them we're coming, and we're coming hard. Okay, we mean business this year. We're gonna lose our cherry around Toaster, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the anti-balls book is full of English bets in a minute, so we need some Irish to level it out.
Have no fear. That'll come. That'll come. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. We have an unbelievable BresBet Easter Cup underway at present. Carl Perry, thank you so much for your input here this morning. Tommy, as always, great to speak to you. We've lots to look forward to in the coming weeks. The Easter Cup final on March 12th, a night to savour. Carl will be journeying across the pond for the night.
Yeah, I'll be there final night. Yeah, I would have.
Have you seen Susie Sapphire in the flesh yet?
No, I haven't. No, we never got a chance. Obviously, we're normally there for the derby, but obviously with the last 2 years we're like that. It's just this will be the first time in the flesh.
Well, touch wood, she's there. She's there. Listen, lads, thanks a million. Lots to look forward to in the coming weeks. Of course, we have the BresBet Easter Cup. The Juvenile Classic is still to come to a conclusion, and lots more top-class racing action. But that's it from us on this Talking Dogs on Monday. We'll see you next time.